Hey guys, Happy New Year. I hope you all had a fun time, safe celebrations and all that. 2025, wow, we're halfway through the decade. That's crazy. A while ago, I made a video, I think in September or August, I made a video talking about why I think you should read my novels, why I think they're important or, at all worth your time or have any kind of value. And today, I wanted to make a video talking about why I think you should listen to my music, because I have a new album in the works, and like most of the time when you create something, the thing that you're currently working on is your favorite thing that you've made, and that's certainly true for this album. It's funny when I show people my music, my new music, they always say like, "Oh, I think it's the best thing you've done." So they also believe that, and they say it sounds like you keep topping yourself. And for this album, for just the couple songs that I've shown people so far, people have said that tenfold. I've had people tell me I should try and actually get signed to a record label for this album and sort of move ahead in that direction. And whether or not that happens, I will do what I've always done on this channel, which is I will release each song individually before I release it officially on Spotify or anything. So I'll release a little video for each song starting this Friday, a couple days from now. You'll see the first song there, and I hope you guys like it. So I don't want to go into like the philosophy and the themes of my music or anything, because I think any piece of art should sort of speak for itself. Like, there's nothing I can say about my music in that way that the music doesn't already state itself. But I do really want to highlight the people who have made my music come to life. I heard a quote recently in a speech someone was giving. He said, I forget the exact wording, but he said essentially that, like, you can't do anything of value by yourself. Like, you always need at least one other person. And no matter how small or large that person's role is, as a general rule, like, there's always one other person required, and that's true though. That's true with my novels as well. Like, in a lot of my, if you guys check them out, I had, I had a couple artists actually draw the cover for Amazon High, and then I had one really talented artist draw all of the illustrations for the fables I had written, and then, just to be able to publish them alone, I had to go through Amazon, and they could have printed it for me. So it was like it took multiple avenues and multiple people to make it happen, and this is very true for my music as well. I'm fortunate enough to know some extremely talented, just genius musicians who have made my music come to life over the years. Christian Rich, really good friend of mine, great drummer. You've seen him many times if you've watched my music over the years. He's always just banging away on the drums there. These are guys that, having grown up as a composer and having been taught sort of classically, and I went to school for composition, you're taught to write in every single note exactly how you want it to appear, and then you give that to the musician, and then they play exactly that, right? That's a very classical way of doing things. Like, the composer kind of does or makes all the calls, and then it's the musician's job to follow the music note for note, right? And so I kind of did that when I started recording. I would write things out a lot for musicians, and then I kind of got into jazz because I liked improv a lot, and then I started doing chord charts and stuff. And so what I do for Christian specifically, since he's a drummer, I don't tell him anything. I'm just like, here's the song, just you do you on it, and then it's always incredible. It's always exactly like it's better than I could have imagined. I've learned over the years that, yeah, if I just say, like, the more I say, the worse it'll be, honestly. The more direction I give, not that it's bad, but I guess my point is just letting them go free and bringing their own musicianship and their own creativity into it uninhibited is the best thing I can do. And that's absolutely true for Christian. I love him. He's a great friend, incredible drummer. And next would be Biallas. You guys have also seen him. He's just a genius guitarist. I don't write the easiest songs in the world. Like, I could probably count on one hand the number of songs I have that are just 4 or 5 chords and like stay in one key. Most of them do really crazy, weird things because, again, as a composition major, that's kind of, you're supposed to sort of break the mold, go the extra mile, see what you can do that you feel like hasn't totally been done before. And I do try to do that in a different way with each song. And so when I give him these chord charts and stuff, they're not the easiest, and it you know, not anyone could do what he does. And it's the same exact thing with Christian, where I just give a chord chart to Brandon, where if you guys aren't musicians, a chord chart is just like, it basically gives you like the landscape of notes that are happening at a certain moment, but it doesn't give you exact melodies. It doesn't tell you exactly what to play. It's like, it's basically saying like, this is more or less what is happening within like, you know, one bar of music. And that's all I give him. And they're very difficult chord charts, and we don't even need to practice anymore. Like when I started doing this in the beginning, I'd be like, all right guys, we're gonna do a couple practice sessions, blah, blah, blah. Now it's just like, I give it to him and I'm like, all right, we're recording Monday. And he's like, all right. And then he comes in and he just nails it. So it's like, it's so great. Christian Rich, Brandon Biallas, I'm so fortunate to have them in my life and have them as friends. They've been there for me just as, not just professionally as other musicians, but just as they're like good friends of mine, which is, I'm so grateful to be able to say that. And I'm gonna link their stuff down below. Brandon's got a lot of cool projects. Christian's always drumming out. He plays shows constantly. So I'm gonna link all their stuff down below. Please check them out. And then of course, Kris Muhly. I always butcher his last name. I'm so sorry. He's the producer. He's the sort of the director of each song that I've written, and same deal there. I've noticed over the years when I'll tell him to like, oh, adjust the volume of this part, do that, do this, I always regret. He'll send me something, and if I mess with it at all, if I tell him to do something differently, when he brings it back to me, I'm like, oh, that was a mistake. Biggest regret actually was our cover of the song from Far Cry 5, We Will Rise Again. I told him there at the final chorus, I think it is, there's a violin playing over the singer, who I'm going to mention next. And I told him to boost the audio of the violin because I like harmonies, and I wanted to like hear that harmony more. But now that I hear it back, it's like way too loud. And so I think that was the last time I ever told him to like do something differently. Sometimes he'll be like, hey, we can do this one way, we can do this another way. And I'll pick, but I never have, since then I've never been like, I don't like what you did here, let's change it, because I trust him fully. And same deal there. And I can't tell you, he's just a genius. They're all geniuses, and I can't tell you how awesome it is to have these guys excited to play my music. I think they all actually like my music, and that makes it so much better. It makes them play better on it, and it makes me so happy and grateful that they enjoy it. And being able to trust them so wholeheartedly with my music and just kind of throw it at them and then just see what they do, and I always love it, is such a beautiful feeling. And then a vocalist who has appeared on a lot of my tracks, Brianna Barnhart. She's one of the greatest singers I don't even know personally, but I just generally know. I mean that completely sincerely. She's just like, her voice is one of the best voices I've ever heard, like up there with, whatever famous singers. I prefer to listen to her than like Beyonce or whatever, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. And so similarly, when I have a melody and lyrics and a song, and then I bring her onto it, it elevates it by so much. And I will link all the songs that she's sung on down below as well. And I think she has a website. She's like in New York now, just living the dream, which is super, super cool. And she deserves all of it. So please go check her out. So this album, on a really basic level, I won't get into the theme too much, but I wrote most of the songs last year, actually. And it's funny. I think this one's so different and going to be so good because it's not just about like love, and it's not just about sex or whatever, which is, most songs are about those things. I turned 30 in November, and it's about time moving forward. It's the title track, I think, is going to be, what is it going to be called? My friend Ben mentioned how there's a really famous song called "Turn Back Time" by, I think, Cher sings it, and I was originally calling it "Turn Back Time," but there's a line in the song where I say something about the tide of time. So we're going to call the song "Tide of Time," and I think the album's also going to be called "Tide of Time," just so it doesn't get mixed up with. Not that I'm any competition or anything, but it's just nice to have my own identity. So it's both at once looking forward and looking back, and that's kind of all I'll say about it. Not every song is about that, but it's definitely, that's like the core of it. And it does so in a way that is a little maybe bittersweet, but then it also does so in a way that is like excited to move forward. So it's sort of doing both things at once, emotionally and musically. And I think that makes it pretty special. So I haven't talked about my music a lot. I just kind of drop tracks and then I move on. But kind of similar thing to what I said in the last video about my novels is that I feel like I should speak up a little bit more and ask for your guys, if you like what I'm doing, if you like what you've heard on this channel so far, I ask for your help. And it doesn't have to be like you're giving me money. One way you can do that is, for whatever reason, the local music community is sort of, their social network is always on Instagram. It's always like, oh, I'll follow you on Instagram, blah, blah. Whenever you meet new musicians, it's always they have an Instagram. So right now what I'm trying to do is, I guess, build my Instagram up. So if you want to go follow me, my handle is A Fire in the Night, at A Fire in the Night, all one word. If you just literally just following me on there, if you're not already, would be a huge help, because people like to look at that. People like to look at that follower count and they get impressed. One thing I the funniest way I ever abused the LaFave Bros power is on Twitter, back when Twitter was called Twitter. I wanted to play a venue, and I messaged them and I was like, I sent them my songs. I was like, hey, here's my stuff. I'd love to play for you guys. I got no response because it was on my personal account, which didn't have that many followers. So then I messaged them again. I added them, actually, I think, on the LaFave Bros Twitter, which maybe I shouldn't have, but it was funny. And I was like, hey guys, I'd love to play for you. And it was a little bit more like in their face, and then they responded. Like I had to just call them out on a larger account, and they're like, oh, okay. And then I ended up playing the gig. So unfortunately, that stuff does matter a lot to get noticed if you want to play gigs. And it's hard, guys. It's actually pretty hard to get shows. It's weird. It's there's a lot of, again, you have to be really a part of the community, and it's way more about who you know and who you're friends with than anything. I mean, I hate to just say it so outright like that. But I've played for other musicians and been in this sort of circuit long enough to know that is the case. And actually just recently, a few months ago, I applied, or whatever you want to call it. I sent my music out to, I think, 8 or 9 different just coffee shops and stuff, and it was like, hey, I'd love to play just for free at your coffee shop. And I think I got one response back declining. The rest of them didn't even bother responding. So that was a little So I think if I had a slightly larger follower count on the Instagram, that would assist in that sort of thing. Because of course businesses want to know that if I'm going to play there, people are going to come, and if they see a larger follower count, then they'll be like, oh, maybe some people will show up and buy our coffee. So I get how it correlates. It's all just business, right? So that would be a tremendous help. And then I do, if you guys can spare a dime, I've had it for years, and I think I've had one extremely loyal patron, Arturo. Thank you, dude. You've just been there forever, even when I'm not doing anything on the Patreon. I've had a Patreon channel for my own music for many years, that's where I release everything first, and you'll hear stuff that isn't heard anywhere else. And actually right now, I have a Google Drive posted in that Patreon that you can hear all the tracks that are completed in the album so far. So if you want to get a jump on all the tunes, please become a patron. I'd dearly appreciate it. You can just $1 or whatever. It helps tremendously. I do often have to pay for different musicians' time and stuff, and obviously the return on this stuff is very minimal. But I don't do it for that. But any amount of support makes it so much easier. It makes it feel better. It's not as big of a burden. Yeah, I don't want to get into too much of that. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. But Yeah, any little bit helps. And then I also have just sort of like that virtual tip jar on PayPal. You can send a one-time payment if you like a a single song. I would so much appreciate it. But wait until you hear it. So Friday, the first song, the title track of the album will drop, and then from there, I think every Friday, more or less, I'm going to try and release a song from the album. Not all the songs from the album will be on my YouTube channel, and if you want to hear all of them, again, you can go over to Patreon or just wait for it to drop on Spotify or whatever it's going to be. Yeah, so down in the comments if you guys want to mention your favorite song of mine. If you do have a favorite song of mine, if it doesn't have to be a song, if it's like one of my little ambient things I've done or like one of the Elder Scrolls pieces I've done, let me know. I'm really interested to know. And please do also follow my Spotify. I think I have just over 100 monthly listeners or whatever on there. I'll also link my Spotify down below. Boosting the number on there would really help. At the moment, Bottoms Up is the closest to reaching 10 or 100,000 plays, which is super exciting. So I hope in 2025 we can get that up there. I'm sure we will. And that's definitely my most popular track. And if you haven't heard it yet, go over to Spotify and check it out. I made a community post on here talking about it, but I didn't really talk about it elsewhere at all. But I kind of quietly released an album of all my really old music. And so all the older songs you've seen on my YouTube channel, and actually older stuff from almost 10 years ago now, is that I just like made in my room on GarageBand with like my mic held up to my face, is also on Spotify. So if you liked any of that really original, not as polished stuff, which my writing style for a lot of those is so different and arguably way more interesting, and just in terms of the writing itself. Now the production is not nearly as good, right? But if you're a big fan of just songwriting in general and composition and stuff, I think you'll appreciate some of those tracks. So go on to Spotify, check that out. I have, I think, 4 albums/EPs on there now. So I started in 2020. I think Bottoms Up came out as a single, and then 2020, I don't remember, 2021 was it? I had I Still Love You, which is that was also a pretty good album, I think, pretty strong. And then I had Healer the next year. I'm trying to do one album a year. And then I also kind of quietly dropped an EP, I want to say 2023, called The Garden of Eden. And they're all very different, I think. And this new album will be different as well. I do try to have, I know an album should have a certain amount of conciseness, like it should all sound like it goes together, but I also love variety. So, for instance, on this new album, there's going to be a lot of just, band pieces. I'm heavily inspired by Gregory and the Hawk right now, just in terms of instrumentation and everything. I think she's fantastic. But then there's a couple tracks on there that are just like men's choir pieces. So there's definitely a variety. And then there's some other songs that are sort of a different thing. So I do like variety. I like a little bit of glue that holds everything together, but I like to spice it up. If here's something, then here's something totally different. So I'm excited. So 3 things you can do, guys, if you've liked my music at all, I would really appreciate it, is follow my Instagram, follow my Spotify, and then if you want to go the extra mile, subscribe to my Patreon, but that's not necessary. Honestly, the biggest thing in the world is just the Instagram and the Spotify. If everyone watching this video could go follow those 2 things, link down below, it would bring me a lot of joy, I'll put it that way. So thank you guys so much. I'm super excited to release this music. We've been sitting on it for a long time. I've been busy with things. The other people who have been sort of part of this album have been busy with things at different times, so we've had to just put it on the back burner multiple times, but finally it's starting to be finished up. So that's a great feeling. And I hope it will impress, and I hope you guys will enjoy. And thank you so much. I hope you all have a great 2025, and stay tuned.